Hello, welcome to this video. We are talking about something that has been interesting me for at least the past year. This is building up an automated trading system. For me, it's based off the Gemini exchange, but everything we talk about here could be, well, really based off any exchange. And the previous video I made talked about the kind of data management system, the data pipeline, which is more like me documenting this stuff for myself, for my future self. Maybe somebody's interested in it. This video, I want to zoom out a little bit from that because I don't want to already talk about implementation. I kind of want to touch on some of these things that I didn't necessarily realize when I first went into building a trading system that I do now, and that maybe in the future I'll forget. So maybe it'll also help somebody who's just starting out with this stuff. I threw together some really kind of shitty slides here, but I hate PowerPoint and all that, so I'm just using a Jamboard. So if you don't like my terrible design, I guess you'll just have to deal with it like I do. But so hopefully it's not too bad. We got this little picture. This thing is not an ice cream cone. It is an iceberg. And basically, I know what, for me, I saw the tip of the iceberg at the beginning. I knew I wanted to build a trading system. I wanted it to be automated. And on the surface, it seems really simple. Because if you look at like these price trends, you can see, okay, we have some peaks, we have some dips. Really easy in principle. You just want to buy the dips and sell the peaks. But as you try to build something that does that, or even if you as a person try to identify, am I really at a dip or am I really at a peak right now? It's not so simple. So wanted to talk a little bit here about how you need to have some specific goals you're aiming for when you're making your trade bot. Like when you say you want to buy low and you want to sell high, what does that really mean? When you start trying to translate that into a system, how do you convey that thought into actual things you check for? Okay, we are now at a local minimum, or okay, we are now at a local maximum. So, big fan of memes over here. So we have this this territory where, okay, you're building a trading system because you want to make money, or you want to buy low and sell high, or you want to predict the price and then do something. Well, these are kind of terrible goals if you're building a trading system. Maybe they're nice, like really pie in the sky kind of high level goals, but none of these are actually actionable. And here we can see a real picture of our trading system breaking out into sweat because it doesn't know when to buy low and sell high. Another thing that you're going to encounter is, okay, how do you make the better goals? For me, this was just working on this thing, building it, seeing how absolutely shitty the performance was when I put some of my assumptions into play. And again, real life picture of me at the top, you know, shooting for that kind of terrible, advice of buy low, sell high. You know, what does that even mean? And then as you start implementing that, you realize, oh man, this is way more complex than I thought it was. So the thing that is really standing out to me was when I first got into this, I was watching people's videos. They were saying, oh yeah, you know, just look at these historical price charts. You'll see this pattern of something dipping. Maybe people were talking about like technical analysis that they do, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of times people are kind of exercising on that hindsight being 2020. Like everything is easy to predict when you're looking at the past, right? Like, oh, well, if I bought Bitcoin back in 2013, you know, we'd be coasting. But these prices aren't always obvious when you're in the moment. And so when you even think about just programmatically, how do you communicate to a program? I guess my vocabulary there is really slipping. How do you communicate to a program that you are at a local minimum and that now is a good time to buy? And then how do you know exactly at that moment that it's optimal to sell? So for me, I was thinking, I went into this, I was like, all right, well, as long as I can detect a local minimum, that's good. We can buy at that point, and then the next time we hit a local maximum, we'll sell. Now, if these were the only local minima that I was buying at, this strategy would really play out well. What I found is that my really unsmart system was buying at any local minimum. It doesn't matter where it is. The bot wasn't smart enough, or the system wasn't smart enough to put things into context and say, yeah, this is a local minimum, but it's not it's not following a certain pattern of local minimum that is really optimal to buy at. And this is what I'm currently in the process of solving, and why in that previous video we talk a lot about the data management system, because the bot I have in place right now, while it is profitable, it's suffering from this issue of it will buy at a local minimum that might not be the best place to buy, then it's going to sell as long as it's at a local maximum that's at least profitable. So I end up with all these kind of trades that are making a little bit of profit technically, but not really, it's debatable, is it even worth running this thing? Because the damn tax nightmare that it is to buy and sell cryptocurrency instead of just holding it. So anyways, this problem, how do you go about solving this? My take on this is that what we should be aiming for is answering these kind of more micro questions. You put something into place, like right now, at least there's something that's even if it's minimalistically profitable, it is profitable, and then we can start asking ourselves some more questions, building up some features to build models, and then evaluating that in very, very hopefully rapid iterative cycles. So this is really the basic concept of what we're trying to shift to. Even the simple bot that's already in place has this concept of relative local minima and relative local maxima. What I haven't really implemented yet is this whole exploiting some information about the ranges between these extrema, or the local minima and the local maxima. But what I really want to point out is that these are just basic features. The direction that I want to move in is having this very rich historical data set, which is why, once again, in that previous video, we're talking about a data management system. Well, we need that in order to capture all this historical data so that we can build some really descriptive features that are going to help us identify what patterns kind of exist. Like maybe we're not trying to predict, the whole universe here of where these prices are going. We just want to understand locally, is the current price sitting in a place where these patterns have kind of been seen repeatedly before, and so we can kind of, with maybe better than 50% accuracy, determine, is this a good purchasing point? Is this a good selling point? And this is going to allow us to move away from this kind of dumb system that's in place right now, which basically just says, hey, I think I'm at a local minimum, I'm going to buy, and then I'm going to wait to sell until there's at least some percentage of difference between this price. That system really causes a lot of problems because it doesn't have a great model behind it that's saying, you know what, maybe you shouldn't buy this local minimum. It's like really greedy, and it will go and it will buy at any local minimum. And so it's sometimes it even freezes itself up, because if your price is tanking on the way down and you buy at a local minimum, then very quickly, before that price swings up to a local maximum that's profitable, it might just keep dropping. And then at least the bot's smart enough in this case to not sell at a loss. But then you end up in the situation where that thing could just be frozen in place, waiting for that price to go back up for months. And that's really not desirable. If you could have a system that's a little bit smarter, puts the prices into context, you might be able to say, you know what, this is a local minimum, but this is not an attractive pattern to be buying in. So that's where we want to move towards, and the way we're going to do that is by having better historical data, more features, and actual models in play instead of a kind of dumb decision system. Right now, there's just a few very basic decisions that are informed by some very basic features. So the goals that I think are leading the new and improved system that is still in development in the right direction is kind of following this kind of thing. Now, I tried to be cute here and put this in a, the same kind of shape as how these prices move. But let's just step through this. So these goals stem from some questions that we have to ask. The first thing is, can we understand the local patterns? What that really means is, I'm not trying to make a system here that's thinking like you or I would think. Not trying to make something that's self-aware, but I am trying to make something that has enough features available to it to where it can say, maybe there are like 30 different flags that this thing could raise. And, maybe we just take the system from being as dumb as it is now to being just, fourth grade smart or something. And it's gonna say, okay, out of these 30 flags, 20 of them are giving us the green light. It's saying this is a good indication of a place to purchase. So the way that we're going to get there is we have to understand some local patterns so that we can design some nice features. We're really talking about feature engineering. So one of these kind of really simple things that's going to come from this is then comparing the current price to some of these features. Like, for example, if you take the rolling average of your price, you could a very basic thing would say, how does the current price compare to this rolling average? Is our current price lower or is it higher? That's super basic. That's kind of what the bot's doing right now, which I can tell you, if that's the way that you go and you don't have anything more advanced happening, at best, you're probably going to be in the same boat I am right now, where this thing is able to squeeze out, some pennies of profit, but it's not really doing too much. Now we go into this, do enough features say this is a good buy. That's kind of what we were just talking about with the, if you have 30 kind of flag indicators, you could think of that as like a voting system. Do we vote that this is a good place to buy? I like that idea a bit, but I'm not completely in love with it. I want to test out some other things as well. Probably start out with like really basic regression models, but maybe even eventually move towards like reinforcement learning. Anyways, then that also, the reinforcement learning feeds into this concept of, if mistakes happen, let's say that we did buy, can we avoid repeating those? So with a reinforcement learning process, we're going to have something that would say, pat our model on the head if it did a good job, say, yeah, that was really nice, keep doing what you're doing. And then if it buys at a really terrible local minimum, it'd get, a little shock to that system. It would say, now we're going to penalize this decision that you made. So again, for this iteration, the next, like what I'm going to be working on for the next couple months, I'm not really going to touch on reinforcement learning because I want to build a decent baseline model. Like if this stupid system that's in place right now is already technically profitable, then I just want to see what some slight improvements on that using tried and true methods of just regular old regression, some logistic regression. Let's see where that takes us. And then we can implement some more complex things. Okay, so then this whole process gets us down, even right now, we get to the point where the model says, okay, we're going to buy. Now some complexity that's going to come into the picture, again, looking at the tip of the iceberg when you say, let's, buy low and sell high, something you don't necessarily think about is the technical problems that are in the picture of, you have some orders that you made, you need to keep track of them. You need to have certain information about what was going on when that order was made. And then you have to, when the system determines, hey, we're at a potential point of selling, then you're going to need to turn around and say, well, for this order, this active order that's in place right now, half of that active order was a buy action. The other half has not been completed yet. That's a sell action. And let's make sure that for each of these buy actions, if we're at a potential point of selling, we need to compare what's the current price, what's the potential profitability there. You also need to determine, are we moving all of these profits into the original currency that we purchased from? So do we sell everything again? Or are you at a profitable enough point to where you could say, you know what, we could sell half of what we bought, make back the money that we had bought in with, and then you are building a portfolio as you go. So you know, let's say that in this case, I'm trading cryptocurrency. You know, if I buy $100 worth of Bitcoin and then I sell at 110, you know, that price goes up 10%. I could move 5%, or let's just say 50% of that profit back into the original currency, like US dollars, but I could keep that other 50% of those profits in the coin. The idea being, if that coin ever surges, if it increases in value, then that 5% I stored in there could grow to, you know, be even more. But at the same time, I'm pulling some of that money out into US dollars so that if the coin crashes, I haven't lost my purchasing currency. So you're kind of slowly, patiently growing your entire portfolio up. Now, that's my strategy. And all of these kinds of stages in the process are a piece of figuring out how to build this system. So you're not building something that buys low and sells high. You are building a system that's a composition of 1,000 different micro questions that you have to determine, you know, what does low mean to you? If you are buying low, does that mean you're buying at the lowest possible local minimum? For me, I've decided that that's not really a viable option. In order for me to know that we are at a local minimum, I have to be at least n+1 units in time away from that, where that minimum was. Because otherwise, if the price hasn't gone back up yet, how do you know that you've been at a local minimum? And so all of these questions are things that you have to ask yourself and then come up with answers to, so that you can figure out how to communicate these concepts, how to translate those into features that then a model, you know, a dumb machine that we're building is going to be able to interpret those features and take the actions that are desirable to your trading system. All right, so then this whole pattern repeats again. If you go through this, some of these questions you have to ask yourself on the buy side, some of the questions you have to ask yourself on the the selling side, then you're going to repeat. And something that I've done just to plug this is implemented this idea of slots. So if I'm trading a certain currency at a certain time interval, let's say that like 40 local minimums happen, 40 local minima happen all within 5 minutes or something. I don't want to make 40 different buys. So what I did, because my system's so dumb, is I said, you know what, I can only have 2 active trades for any given variety of this stuff happening. So if I make 2 bad purchasing decisions, I'm just gonna have to live with those until the price finally eventually swings upwards enough for those to be profitable, or it's just gonna be frozen in time until I manually go in there and delete those trades and just eat the losses. So that's kind of my approach to that. Is I don't want the system to run away on me. You know, if prices are crashing, then I'll end up with 2 bad purchase decisions that are a fraction of the portfolio, and then I'll be able to just either wait it out until the prices go higher again, or cancel those trades when the price flattens out at the bottom. Anyways, this all just leads us into wrapping this up. This is all about this high level thinking. You know, what goals do you have for your trading system? What is it that you're actually defining when you say you want to buy low? What is it that you're actually describing when you say you want to sell high? You have to get better descriptions than that, because that's just high level idea talk. That's not actionable. You can't tell a program to do that. So you have to figure out what that means, and then in order to put that into action, the pathway I'm taking is I'm building a system like described in that previous video, designing a data pipeline for a crypto trading system. We are going to be regularly fetching prices from the API. Then we're going to be, from the Gemini Exchange API, we're going to be storing those prices into a data management system. So we capture at a very granular level what all these prices are. And just a little history on that. Right now, that kind of the dumber system that I've been talking about, it's just querying the API on the fly. So for example, if you were to query a minute's worth granularity of these prices, you'd only get 24-hour history. So in order for me to query at that same granularity, but go back like 6 months, I would need to be storing that data at regular intervals in my own data management system. So that's what I'm doing here. That's my goal in order to build better features and build better systems for detecting patterns. And so to understand those relative patterns, my opinion is I need that historical data. And that's a big part of me building this next generation of the system. Then I'm going to use those patterns. You can see here I'm really good at spelling. Let's fix that. We're going to use these patterns to create some features. And really what I mean by that is, you know, if I can tell as a person looking at this chart that I would not have made a purchase decision at this point in time, like if we go back here and we say, you know what, this wasn't the best place to buy. What is it about that makes me as an observer know that? And you could say, well, I mean, clearly it's because some of these different trends happening out here. So what my goal is to have enough of that historical data to make that these patterns be described by a rich set of features. Like maybe I want to combine things like, you know, what's actually the range between local minima and local maxima before this one happened. You know, up here we see some really tiny ones. Like technically this little guy right here, you probably can't even see on your screen because my recording resolution is not the greatest. This is a local minimum, and then there's a local maximum right before it. And that's super small. So maybe there's a way to build some features that are kind of describing, you know, some of these things that are happening right around this trade are indicating that maybe the back and forth that we have right now between our peaks and our dips just isn't an attractive time to be buying. Anyways, I don't want to harp on that. We'll talk about more of that in some of the more implementation focused videos down the road. But then the final thing is, and this is something I can't stress enough how important it is to get this right. It's not sexy, but actually executing the trades reliably. For me, I built my own thing that interacts, my own code that interacts with the API. But you know, when you are at a local minimum and you say yes, let's buy, and you go in for that buy action, sometimes that trade succeeds, sometimes it fails. Sometimes there wasn't enough on the ledger, you know, for you to make that purchase completely. And so instead of having a bunch of zombie trades hanging around your system or incomplete trades, you know, you might want to build something that's saying, okay, if I can instantly fulfill this order, then we're good. It's a success. If we can't instantly fulfill this, let's cancel it completely. The same thing for selling. If you can sell it all at once at this time, great. If not, don't sell it. So you kind of have to put a little bit of thought into what are these pipelines looking like that are actually communicating with the exchange, and nailing those down, getting that really working well is crucial, because it's like your supply line to the exchange. You know, if you implement that poorly, then your bot's going to be riddled with bugs. It's going to crash. You're going to have runaway trades. Who knows? Terrible things can happen, and yeah, just don't do it. Instead, make that thing work properly. Okay, so then this little meme over here, this is kind of illustrating exactly what happened to me when I first put this trading system live. You know, you think you figured it out, you cracked the code, you're buying low, you're selling high, and then you go in after the trading fees have been calculated and everything, you realize that you just, you know, this trade took maybe a day or 2 days to complete its cycle, and you made, you know, a fraction of a penny. At this point, it's more so like it's making better than this. It's improved a bit, But that's what I'm hoping to do with this entire exercise is go through, build a decent data management system, then build some at least capable models that will give a good foundation, and then eventually get more advanced when we figure out what really works and what doesn't. Also kind of just feature engineer the hell out of this and figure out what kinds of features are really useful for nailing down where our current price is compared to the patterns that have happened. So that's all I want to talk about here. This is pretty high level stuff, but if you are also into building a trading system, I think that these are all things that you have to really realize and consider. Is the really high level concept is very simple. The implementation can be quite complex. So nail down, get specific with the goals that you have for what you're building, and then figure out very specific features that can help you realize those goals through a program. All right, in future videos, we're going to dive into more discussions about some of the infrastructure that we're doing to make this work, and then also about the maybe some of the actual code that makes some of the stuff happen. Don't want to give away all the secret sauce, but I mean, we're going to be talking about lots of these things. So maybe see you there, or maybe I'm just talking to myself, but maybe see you next time.